morning, everybody, and a happy Tuesday morning to you. A big thank you to Her Most Imperial Majesty, Queen of Cats, Emerald Tiara, for the picture above. This is some of the best work, I'm telling you. Okay, we have a lot to cover in here. Again, a long video, and we've got some fabulous memes. I am telling you, people on Twitter are so freaking talented. So let's just jump in and get busy with this, shall we? Let's go. Now, to start with, I want to give a big thank you to Lady Fawn, who sent me the Chartley Almanac, which she said she wrote. Pretty cool. And she sent me a copy, and this is just wonderful. It's got recipes. It's got places for me to write all my notes and stuff down. This is just wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm absolutely going to use this. All right, we're going to start off with these stories. If you can believe this, it's being reported that Harry is talking to Eugenie and Beatrice and has told them that they should move to the United States. This way, Harry has some family, close by to commiserate with. And, he just feels that they would be happier away from the UK. And he has offered, the articles say, quote unquote, a sanctuary. They need room to breathe. And America is the place where they can finally get it, if you can believe that. Now remember, Eugenie and Jack are the only ones that have visited Harry and Meghan in the United States. And since Harry is really missing home and missing his cousins, he feels like, he'll get back a small part of his family that he's been cut off from. So we'll see what happens. I got to be honest, in my personal opinion, I don't believe that that's ever going to happen, but okay. Let's move on to Prince William. He has heaped praise on Cornwall, describing the county as a, quote, beacon of creativity, imagination, and achievement. He did a filmed message that was played to a packed audience of young people and their families at a gala. And William sent his support to the county, where he is known as the Duke of Cornwall, while he's there. So the video was played at the 20th anniversary of the Young and Talented Cornwall, the Lord Lieutenant's Fund Gala, which also saw Dame Judi Dench, Dawn French, and Will Young also share messages. The fund has awarded over £600,000 since 2005, helping more than 450 youngsters. All right, let's move on to Mike Tindall. He did something kind of rare. He reposted a video showing William on his Instagram. And in the video that was posted, Prince William was opening the Rob Burrows Center for Motor Neuron Disease. We covered this just the other day. The former rugby league star Rob Burrows passed away in June at the age of 41. 4.5 years after being diagnosed with the disease. He was diagnosed almost 2 years after he stopped his playing career. Don't forget that he was also, Mr. Tindall was, on Rob Burrows' podcast with his wife Zara in 2023 and has been involved in multiple charities for motor neuron disease. Next up, we have the Duke of Kent, who formerly received the newly appointed artistic director of the London Philharmonic Orchestra, Mr. Jesus Herrera, during an audience at Kensington Palace this past Friday morning. And this meeting is the start of Herrera's tenure as one of Britain's leading orchestra institutions. And I think it points out the fact that the Duke of Kent, who's 90, is not going to slow down. I love it. Here we go. Now, we know that Donald Trump was in the UK for a state visit. Now it's King Charles's turn. He is going to visit the United States in this coming April to celebrate the country's 250th birthday. There's going to be a lavish state visit. Of course, that's if the king's health allows him to travel. Plans are being negotiated to include a visit to the White House. It's expected that Camilla is going to come with him on the trip. And Mr. Trump's administration is apparently, it's being reported, planning a string of events to mark the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States. And this is going to be a major moment in the run-up to July 4th Independence Day celebrations. Now, obviously, they're monitoring King Charles's health very closely. They'll be looking at it very closely in the weeks leading up to the trip because King Charles did just turn 77. He's still getting treatment for an undisclosed form of cancer. And, but I think he's going to make it. I think that's pretty cool. All right. Next up, Meghan Markle. Usually she and Harry keep their Thanksgiving celebrations private, but this year it's proving to be very different because Meghan is really pushing her brand and the holidays are promotional tie-in. So Harry and Meghan are going to navigate the holiday season by sharing more of their private side and their Thanksgiving and their Christmas on Instagram. And the increased social media activity could be problematic because Harry is trying not to stir things in his family. He'd probably like to see his father more frequently, and he's very mindful how he and Meghan and their behaviors are affecting the king. Now, I have to tell you, that's what these articles are saying. I don't believe that for a second, because otherwise they wouldn't have made the announcements and tried to overshadow William's trip, right? Why would they try to overshadow them, which is what they did? The truth is, it's coming out that Meghan despises the idea of Harry reconnecting not only with William, but with Catherine. To be fair, she has long been viewed as a potential bridge between Harry and William, and Meghan has always been uneasy about how emotionally close Harry used to be to Catherine, and the idea of them slipping back into that old rhythm really troubles her, and it could reopen doors that she's been trying to desperately keep shut. But let's be honest, Harry's really desperate to reconnect with his whole family, and he knows now that his father may not have long left, and so he's desperately trying to get his foot back in the door. Now, I am beginning to think that possibly they want to bring Harry back, but they want to separate him from Meghan. So Catherine might want a private moment with Harry out of sight because she thinks she might be able to relieve some of the tension. But Harry basically is going to be told, I think, that he can come back, and he can even bring the kids, but he absolutely cannot bring Meghan. Now, let's go back to Meghan and her Christmas special. There are statements coming out that they're calling this the closing credits of her Netflix series because the show is going to end and this special is the final farewell. Now, I believe that this was taped at the same time as the other things that were done, that it was all done, at the same time. I mean, let's be honest, they announced season 2, which is basically the same thing as season 1. They simply filmed 16 episodes and split them in 2, and there has been no season 3 announced. So yeah, the speculation is the show has run its course. Obviously, their contract is gone, and now they just have that first look deal with Netflix. There's the lack of typical press launch for what would be a new season. So yeah, I think that's the end. But that hasn't stopped Meghan from putting up these ridiculous Instagram videos. I want you to watch this.
What I like to do when I have guests over for the holidays, especially when you have a lot of people and everyone has a different preference for breakfast, you just create stations and they can help themselves. This I had gotten from a vintage store and I love it. This is our raspberry. Actually a really nice way to add to a little yogurt parfait station. Start with some jam, do a nice yogurt on top. Yes, you could do a yogurt parfait in a normal bowl, or you can just make it a little bit more special. All of this is great for kids. If you don't want to make pancakes, don't make pancakes. You just get the ones that are in the freezer section. I like having some of the fruits whole and the rest sliced in half. The same fruit just looks so much cuter. And on this one, let's put some whipped cream, the remaining strawberry and raspberry jam that we have. Fan favorite in my house. So good. One of my favorite things for breakfast with the large group is having quiche. So one of two things, if you have just a great quiche, again, grocery store or make it yourselves, you can leave it out if you know people are gonna wake up right around now. Otherwise, I would just write a little note that says, morning, help yourselves, quiche is in the oven. Where you're just presenting it in a way that feels a little bit more enticing and people can wake up in the morning and feel cared for, which I think is half of the joy of the holiday.
So how many times have we seen Meghan make a parfait? She's a one-trick pony. She put up a video when she made one in her kitchen with her mother. She made one during the Netflix show. I mean, she just keeps making the same things over and over. And just like with the pretzels, she simply moved her jam or spread or whatever from one jar to another. It's just like the charcuterie boards and the platters that she makes. How many times have we seen her do a fruit platter and show off her jam or jelly? How many Netflix show platters of vegetables did we see? She did the exact same thing in this advert, except she did it with pancakes and she put fruit around the pancakes to make it look better. Again, one trick pony. By the way, as an attempt to get you guys to buy more of her products, she's actually saying now that you could put that runny, messy jelly jam spread or whatever into alcohol and drink it. I'm not kidding. And it's pretty obvious at this point she's getting desperate to sell out the alcohol because it's not selling. Let's go back now to the Harper's Bazaar photo shoot. For those of you who don't realize it, when she's sitting on the ground in the black and white shirt and she puts her hand to her face and looks all coy, it's because the guy who's sitting on the ground is going, "Ooh, you're a 10 out of 10. She tries to act like she's laughing. That's a fake laugh. She's so fake. And then you see her hugging this woman. Well, the woman she's hugging is Harper Bazaar's editor-in-chief, Samira Nazir. The Canadian is the first black woman to hold the position at Harper's Bazaar, and she was previously the executive fashion director at Vanity Fair. And it was Miss Nazir who reposted the behind-the-scenes footage on her own Instagram account going, "This lady," with a big heart emoji. "My endless gratitude to everyone who was on the set." Let me just tell you guys, it did not take long for the memes to start coming out, and people on Twitter are so freaking talented. Watch these.
Stop copying me.
Now, I have to tell you, especially about this interview, the more people look at it, the worse it is. One of the things she said that Meghan is now getting a lot of backlash for is she described the 1992 Los Angeles riots as cinematic, if you can believe that. Quote, "It was so cinematic in a way I don't think many people can understand. It was so visual, smoke everywhere, people driving around with the back of their SUVs open." And now what we know, of course, is that Meghan Markle's dad took her away so she wouldn't see any of it. So all of this stuff she's talking about is a lie. She acts like seeing a few looters carrying diapers makes her a war survivor with PTSD, like she's some kind of a veteran. People died. Neighborhoods burned. For anyone there, it was not a movie scene. It's people's lives. She says the ashes felt like snow. Well, they lost half the city. Who talks like this? Now, one comment was made that really caught my attention, and that's that Meghan always frames events through how they shaped her, not what they meant to the wider community. And that's what grates about it. She tends to retrofit and exploit huge traumas to make it sound as if she carries trauma. The problem is everyone in LA over 40 remembers those days, and the city has a long memory, and you can't turn the riots into an origin story when it virtually had nothing to do with you. You know, Meghan was raised in a middle class and later upper middle class environment in Los Angeles. She grew up in a flourishing neighborhood in the San Fernando Valley. She was not underprivileged. Now, people are really talking about this interview. They're saying that Meghan sees herself as a humanitarian, a crusading feminist, a founder, and that she's going to meet her moment and she's able to author her own chapter. Because forget the Oprah interview where she painted her in-laws as cold racists, unwilling to help her weather her mental health woes. And it must have been really hard for Meghan to let others frame her narrative in her Netflix docuseries called Harry and Meghan, which was also produced by them, where they aired all their royal dirty laundry. Never mind her 2 podcasts where all she did was yap and talk over all of her guests, with neither podcast lasting for more than, 1 season. I mean, in this interview, Meghan had her rep present just to make sure that she wasn't misquoted, because God knows why she might have been misquoted while she was with a bunch of people at the tar pits, some STEM schoolgirls. And yet what it comes down to is that she is the Duchess of Duds. That's what they've named her. Since tapping the royal vein dry, she's relying on her own ideas. You have the lifestyle brand As Ever selling her flower sprinkles, her jam, and her scented candles. You have her Netflix series Love Meghan, which has been a devastating snooze fest done in a rented mansion where Meghan makes lavender towels and crop dust viewers with the word joy. And not surprisingly, that series didn't crack the topmost 300 watch titles. I mean, at this rate, she's going to be best known for hanging out at Kris Jenner's birthday party. Now, the biggest thing is when Harper's Bazaar asked her what she learned from her mistake, she goes, you learn not to do it again. If it all goes swimmingly, you don't learn from it. And yet, here we are again. Get it? All right, moving on. This whole thing about Barefoot is coming back because apparently Princess Catherine went to visit Roman Kemp's family. And when they got there, she noticed that everybody in the house had their shoes off. And so Catherine offered to take off her shoes and she walked into the house, without shoes. He goes, it's so surreal because you don't expect to see a member of the royal family in their socks. Well, remember when Meghan talked about formality and being barefoot? Let me remind you.
It's like I was a hugger. I've always been a hugger. I didn't realize that is really jarring for a lot of Brits. I guess I'd started to understand very quickly that the formality on the outside carried through on the inside. That there is a forward-facing way of being. And then you close the door and you go, oh, great. Okay, we can relax now. But that formality carries over on both sides. And that was surprising to me.
My take on it is that Catherine didn't want to hug her because Catherine didn't know her. I mean, Harry even said in his book that it freaked William and Catherine out that Meghan didn't have shoes on. And he even wrote, Willie doesn't hug many strangers, whereas Meg hugs most strangers. I mean, wouldn't he have prepared Meghan by saying, listen, they don't really know you. They're probably not going to hug you. Just give them a handshake to start. But no. But then again, Meghan was totally in control. Even at their engagement interview, Harry was sitting slumped over during the interview with a posture. And you could just tell this was not just a casual sit down. It was supposed to be joyful and weighty. And, they were sharing a life-changing event. But Meghan was cueing Harry with pats and nudges and stares while all the time sending messages. You get what I'm saying? There are early signs of dominance, control, tension, eye contact warnings, subtle hand cues. And these were the first signs and symptoms of the dynamic the two of them had that led to Megxit and the Netflix series and the couple's dramatic split from the royal family. Meghan in this interview was totally acting. This is not the authentic, real Meghan. And it's for that reason that the late Prince Philip said to Harry before he married Meghan, quote, one steps out with actresses, one doesn't marry them. Philip compared Meghan Markle to the late King Edward VII's wife, Wallis Simpson, who he gave up the throne to marry in 1937. That marriage was supposedly a scandal since the socialite had been married and divorced twice. And they were together until Edward died in 1972. But of course, what we found out after she died and he died was that she had multiple affairs behind the former king's back. She never gave up on her ex-husband, and she still was in love with her ex-husband and was writing him love letters. And these letters, of course, all came to surface after everybody had passed away. So yes, he compared her to Wallis Simpson. And it's the same dynamic. The former king was obsessed with Wallis Simpson, but she didn't love him. And I think that's what's going on here. Maybe Philip thought that she was Wallis Simpson because she went out of her way to dress like Wallis Simpson. It's not just Diana that she copycatted. I personally think she dressed that way intentionally. Now let's go back to the Harper's Bazaar interview and the pictures. People are saying that these pictures, Meghan tried to look fresh-faced. She tried to say that, with the soft lighting and the gray and beige tones again, that this is just the way she looks. But I got to tell you something. In the pictures they took of her, she looked old and washed up. And don't give me this, I wasn't wearing makeup in all of these pictures, because that is a bold-faced lie. For instance, let's look at this picture. Here she has no makeup. Look at her lips. There's no makeup. Look, you can see her freckles here. She's clearly wearing makeup. It's barely their makeup. You know where that makeup came from? Her friend Victoria Jackson, who's the one that's bankrolling her millionaire lifestyle. She's not fooling anybody. She looks terrible. Now, I have to be honest and tell you that I don't understand what the point of this Photoshop was. Because to be fair, these are some of the most unflattering pictures I've ever seen. And I don't really understand why she did it. Put those comments down and make them good, because you know I'm reading them. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell for all notifications. Then go down into the description box where you'll find the link to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, a link to my second channel, a link to my father's book, which is up for sale on Amazon, as well as a link to my Amazon wish list and a physical address. For those of you who have donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.